not than putting somebody else in there.
Do you think that there's a chance that practices are not intense enough or competitive enough? I had this conversation with Eric and Shannon Snell at dinner like just a little while ago, and they were just saying that obviously he's not going to call plays on Saturday that didn't work on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday in practice. So if they're working in practice, but they're not working on Saturday, why? And is it because the guy wants to kill you that's across the line from you on Saturday, but the guy across from you during the week is only going half speed? Like, could that be part of this issue?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you go back and look at Alabama. Talking to any Alabama player under Nick Saban, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday were more difficult than Saturdays were. I remember my time
padlock on the facility. My cousin played tight end for Saban, and he said to make sure nobody snuck in from the NCAA, he would padlock them into the facility.
Yeah, I mean that's commitment to winning right there. Whether or not you like that or it's in alignment with the rules, but. I just maybe they're not practicing as hard. Maybe they're not giving each other what they need in terms of the iron sharpening iron effect. But I mean, I look around. There's a lot of talent that I feel like I see, and so it really doesn't make sense to me that they can be as non-competitive as they are on offense. It's just watching that offensive line. It was embarrassing for the second straight year to get dominated on the line of scrimmage by Miami the way that we did.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's supposed to be the strength of the team. And we're watching. And, the mystery is how they can look so bad. What they have the first half, 25 yards.
32 yards.
32, but did they have net, whatever they had in offense? And then you think they're dead. I have notepads full of stuff. They're dead. They're finished. They can't do anything. Middle of the way through the third quarter, when we're all ready to wrap it up for the night, all of a sudden this defense picks it up and starts really playing it well. And the defense got them back in the game, and the game went to 13-0, which looked like it was Georgia Tech and Cumberland at 222-0 is what it felt like. It could be a 100-0 game. Suddenly the whole game changed, and it was a 13-7 game. And Florida was calling the shots and dictating and dominating. Well, where'd that come from? That came from on a dark night in the corner, rainy night when, you about to give up. And all of a sudden there's something that lit a spark.
I think the defense was good the entire night. Like you said, I mean, it should have been 35-0 probably at that point, but it was 13-0. The difference was you started getting to the perimeter of Miami's defense. You're running to the edges, you're getting some of those spot screens out there. I think that was early on, you knew that we weren't moving a whole lot of, folks up front in the middle of the defense. So I think finally getting to the edges, developing a little bit of rhythm, moving the chains. Like, you have to be able to move the chains. And what were we 0-13 on third down? Like, I don't know if I've ever heard of anything like that. But I thought it was a good job of developing some rhythm and using the perimeter plays to help have success where you didn't have success before.
And now you were three big defenders out missing the edge rushers. They were really down people, and they kept hanging in there, and Miami was just rolling over them, physically beating them up. So, all right. So, Chris, I know you got to go here pretty quick, but thanks for spending time with us.
Yeah.
I want you to tell me, visionary that you are, how you picked Napier out of the bunch in Oklahoma. You've been on them all summer long. You saw something, and you came out with it. And maybe you just didn't want to be burned by Florida again. But no, that's a great pick. Tell me about Napier. Tell me about the team. Tell me about
when I was doing my off-season prep, went back and watched some Washington State tape, both to see what Ben Arbuckle was doing from a schematic standpoint and watching John Napier in that offense. And it just – perfect for what they ask him to do. A great arm, can layer the football. Certainly good at making things happen when protection breaks down. Good in the quarterback run game. Tough as hell. A winner. I think you see his attitude permeating through the rest of the team. The reports of having him hold everybody accountable during camp when he first gets there. The respect by being named a captain after only being there for a short period of time. Like, these are things that I identified. And people are like, oh, he did that in Washington State. He's not going to do it anywhere else. Well, I mean, Cam Ward was a pretty good Washington State player that went to Miami and ultimately got drafted first overall by the Titans. Not playing great right now, but these guys, it does translate. Just as you're going up against tougher competition in the SEC, you also have better skill players around you, which I think he's utilized really well. But in addition to that, Jim Nagy, Brent Venables, they went out and built their lines of scrimmage. Had terrible luck last year on the offensive line and the receiver position, but those guys are staying a little more healthy. They may have the best defensive line in the conference, and I think they can weather the storm. It'll be difficult to win without Napier, but this has been Arbuckle's opportunity to show what he can do with Michael Hawkins, and I think at the most probably misses 2 games. May be disappointing missing the Red River rivalry, but I like Oklahoma's chances still. I think they're a playoff team, and we'll see how things play out the next couple of weeks.
I just had a kind of a minor stroke. I couldn't understand why the Doering jersey said 85. I realized I had the mirror on. I thought, what 85? What 28 still there. Mm-hmm. All right, final thoughts for you, and I'll let you get out of here. What are we going to do this summer? I mean, this year we're going to have to wait this one out and see. Any advice to the Gator fans who are upset and impatient and want somebody's head?
Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing. I think we had high hopes for what the season would look like. It doesn't seem like it's turning out that way, but what do we say all the time? In all kinds of weather, we all stick together. So we'll show up, we'll support the team, we'll cheer for the guys that are out there. Hopefully the guys understand how fortunate they are to put that uniform on and get out the chance to run out in the swamp. You got Texas coming to town. This will tell us a lot, man, about how much these guys are either buying in or the capitulation factor setting in. I'm hoping that they'll buy in and continue to fight, and maybe some good things will happen.
Well, really, who's got that much hope anymore? I thought a long time ago Florida had a good chance of beating Texas. They have no chance of beating Texas, okay?
I don't know about that. Their offense ain't very good either, so we might be a battle of ineptitude.
I've seen enough to know. I mean, I know at this point in time. Allie, I know you're hoping as well, but it's a tough one.
I mean, I do actually like our chances against Texas better, this week than I liked them 5 weeks ago, probably. I still think it's a mountainous task to beat them, but every Saturday I show up a glutton for punishment, hoping to see something different and wanting, a different outcome. So.
Well, I mean, look, they got the greatest quarterback in the history of the game playing for them. That's what I heard a guy, sports writer from Texas, say in preseason. He might be the greatest quarterback, and I love Arch. I really love the way he plays. I think there's a coach there that needs to be looked at. People tell me what a great coach he is. Okay, his quarterback should be playing better, a lot better, since he's a genius. But Arch, I hope he turns it around. He's a great young kid, the family, whatever, but boy,
if you turn it around in 2 weeks instead of 1, that would be cool.
I don't know if he's going to. I really don't. I have my doubts about that, but what do I know? All right, Chris, thank you.
Thanks, y'all. See ya.
Appreciate you being on, man. Go eat some dinner. I know you haven't eaten anything. All right. Chris Doering is always fun to have on, and I'll get you off here in a second. Chris, I got you right here. Allie, so we didn't get a chance to talk yet about the schedule. And I think we're still sorting it out here, trying to figure it out. Let me do this commercial. And a little bit later on, I'm going to bring in a guy who covers the league a little more broadly than we do and get his thoughts, because I'm still trying to understand it exactly. I'm not sure I do. So let's take a moment to talk about our great sponsor, Meldon Law. They won't back down. Meldon Law, of course, is the only official law firm of the University of Florida. Jeffrey's a great Gator. And like I say, if you want a good attorney and a great Gator, you got it both right there. And Jeffrey, people on his staff have expanded now to 50 members, 50 people in the law firm. It's 4 locations to serve you, plus 1 in South Florida now. They're always going to be the hometown lawyers, but they also are well known for their smart business, the way they take care of their customers. I encourage you, if you need an attorney and you're a Gator, go get you one from Meldon Law. They won't back down. All right, Ms. Wilbur, you've been critical, probably more critical of Billy than I have. You haven't, and and you're doubtful, and you've been saying, I'm not sure. And you told me last year, just what Chris said, that you've been told, he said to recruits, we'll have a new offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
What happened there? Is he just reneged?
I don't know. I know that that's something that, big money boosters were assured of, that he was going to have to hire somebody, and that was part of, the stipulation in coming back. So I was really surprised that that didn't end up happening. And listen, I can understand if you feel like your back is against the wall, that you want to bet on yourself versus putting your life in the hands of somebody else. I do understand that concept, but it's frustrating because I feel like had he made this move a year ago, we would be in a very different spot. Hell, had he made it this offseason, we could probably have the same record we have now. And if anything, we'd just be calling for that offensive coordinator's head as opposed to calling for Billy's head, because at least he would have tried something different. And so, I feel like fans are so frustrated because of the way that this is played out. We look unprepared. We were told all summer how great we were, and we're not seeing it. And then when we have press conferences, which have never been his strong suit, I think Billy Napier does do a lot of things well. I don't think PR is one of them. Mm-hmm. But then we're kind of gaslit, where we're told, like, there's going to be a renewed emphasis on offense. Okay, who's going to be held accountable for that? He says a renewed account. People are going to be held accountable.
That's what he said today. He said that today.
Yes. And he said stuff like, and even in what Lagway said last week, which I know he was trying to show everybody that he's still 100% committed. And I get where he's coming from. And I do think he probably was trying to emulate the promise a little bit, which, was a totally different set of circumstances than what we're in right now. But when you say playtime's over, which is one of the words that DJ Lagway used, that tells me that there was playtime the first 3-4 games of the season. And that, as a fan, just drives me absolutely bonkers. And it is what leads me to believe that things are not competitive enough within the program. And, Billy alluded to that last year when we got that turnaround. He said, well, I think the turnaround has to do with the fact that we made practices competitive. Why the hell were practices not competitive from the beginning? I sat and watched a lot of Urban's practices, as did you. Their practices were harder during the week than they were during games.
Bloody Tuesday was always that. Yeah,
absolutely. And the fact that that is not what we're doing and the fact that it's not what we're doing, but then it's not that he doesn't have the ability to realize that's the problem, is very frustrating.
Does he not realize it, or is he just in denial? Sometimes I think he's in
denial. And the thing about these other players too is that if they haven't played anywhere else, they don't know. They're coming from their high school program to Florida. It's going to seem more competitive no matter what. But if you haven't played for a team like Alabama or Georgia or Ohio State, something like that, and witnessed what this is really supposed to be like every day, you think this is what it's supposed to be like. I think back to Zook's players. Zook's players will tell you, we thought practice was competitive. And then Urban came and we realized it wasn't. And I guarantee you that's where the players are at.
Yeah, that's very true. I don't know. It's almost like he put blinders on. He's not going to. Someone told me this a long time ago, last year, when I complained about the way Billy was running his press conferences. They've gotten a little bit better, but they were just designed to be non-communicative. Mm-hmm. When you go to a press conference and you can't get a question in, you're legitimately a working guy, and you go there from out of town to get there, and you come and sit, and you don't get called on to even ask your question, that, and you used to be able to have your home numbers with the coach and talk to him and whatever. I'm not saying that he had to have any special treatment.
Sure.
We have to have equal treatment, right?
Sure.
And you see nothing changing. And now here's the other thing is Billy didn't curry any favor with anybody. Right. He didn't trust anybody in the media. Mm-hmm. He never seemed like he was open. And here's Mark Long coming at you like a pit bull again today. Billy, you still going to call the plays? Yeah. And he has no one standing in his corner for good reason, because he hasn't earned it. There's that trust with the fans. So,
and we've talked about this, you and I, for years, in that like goodwill is a currency, and you can earn it by being open and honest and letting people feel like they know you. It is so much harder to root against somebody that you feel like you personally know, you understand their story, you like them as a human being. And, you know, I do like a lot of the things I've heard about Billy, but I know very little about him compared to Urban and Spurrier, and even honestly Mullen and Muschamp. And, you know, I think that was a huge miscalculation on this regime's, you know, plan, essentially, is that this was a huge miscalculation in their scheme of things. And, you know, I think back to, remember when they blocked a whole bunch of people on social media from their accounts, unfollowed them. Like, you, in hindsight, you spent time worrying about what people were tweeting about you on X instead of worrying about the products you were putting on the field.
Yep.
And it's wild to think about, but you're right. Like, if he had had a sit down with you and you had done several,
not even me, but I mean, at least
because I you know, you and Pat Dooley and Franz Beard are it, right? You are the originals. And I think that what you guys say is the way the fan base goes. So if you had introduced us to Billy Napier and this side of him we didn't know about, and, you know, got into his thought process of, you know, why he does things the way he does, we might understand a little bit better, and he would have been given more grace. And
that
was a mistake.
You're right. And I was going to say that someone who's high up in the coaching ranks said to me last year when I was complaining about his being nonplussed around the media. Because if I can go back to early on when Jack Nicklaus was trying to beat Arnold Palmer, and I know it's the dark ages, he remade himself completely. He made it the way he looked, the way he talked, the way he acted. He made himself learn the names of the people in the media room. So if you were at the Masters, the press conference, and you ask a question, you say, "Oh, Alec," he mentioned the names of the people asking the questions. Now, granted, it was different. I'm not saying that's what he should do, but he really sort of set the curve on things like that. I'm not asking Billy to do that. I don't want to go to dinner with Billy. I'm not asking to be his best friend, but still, you could have done something, and he's done nothing. And I asked my friend about it. And I said, "Why do you think he's doing it that way?" He said, "Because he worked for Nick Saban. That's how Saban did it." Well, he ain't Nick Saban, so he can't get away with it.
No, I feel like Nick Saban earned that right. And that's kind of, I had a conversation with somebody about Lane Kiffin earlier, and they were saying how they didn't want him at Florida because they didn't love the way he acted when he was at Tennessee and Urban was at Florida. And, you know, I think back then, Lane Kiffin was trying to be Steve Spurrier, but without the accolades of Steve Spurrier. And I think that the same thing about Napier and Coach Saban, you earn the right to say the things that you're thinking, or you earn the right to ice the media out, or, you know, control the narrative or whatever by winning a whole lot of football games.
There you go. And you're exactly right. Let's get, I want to ask your opinion about the 3 games. I call it the pick 3. I know it's not the end of the line. They'll play everybody over a 2-year period. Florida had kind of unusual 2 people left out that you think would be would be rivals. You can't play without them, but things have changed there. And one guy who has followed it closely on his show, SEC Sidelines, is going to join us in a minute. Rob Brown talking about that very thing. But let me go through the scenario one more time of the coaches, and then we'll cut it to Rob. We'll talk schedule. I said, someone asked me, "Buddy, can you please tell me what you think?" I said, "Well, I'm not prepared to write this, but if I had to say it today, meaning this morning, I'd say people want Urban." I've been told by some high up people who said they've got the money and they're willing to spend it. And I even heard the figure. It's staggering.
Yeah.
And so that's 1. 2, the guy that everybody wants, obviously, is Lane Kiffin. He's most like Spurrier. He's most desirable. 3, I think Drinkwitz would be a pretty good alternative if they can't get those 2 guys, maybe. But number 1, I don't see Urban doing it at all. So you got to think, well, okay, how movable is Lane Kiffin? That's the word that the athletic director used with me a couple of months ago. You got to be movable. I'm not so sure he's movable. I think he's pretty happy. And finally, Drinkwitz looks better and better all the time. Your thoughts?
I think, and I know all the stuff that's come out this week about Landry being able to convince Lane not to go to Auburn a couple of years ago. I think the Auburn job being open and the fact that Lane was open to taking such a train wreck as the Auburn job was at that time, the fact that he would have gone if not for Landry making a sappy video actually makes me more confident that he would come to Florida, because I think that Florida is a much better job than Auburn, and that Lane has a lot more ties to Auburn. To Florida than he does to Auburn. I think Lane Kiffin would take this job if offered to him. I think Lane Kiffin's family would support him taking this job. Landry's grandmother, Patty Reeves, was a cheerleader for Florida. Her grandfather, who, has since passed away, John Reeves, was a quarterback for Florida. A great quarterback. I think the ties to Florida would make him a movable object. I also find it amusing. Last year, when we thought we might be getting a new coach halfway through, Lane started messing with us on social media and would say things that would get Gator fans a little bit riled up, like, "Ooh, maybe he'll come, maybe he'll come." And then, the hot seat cooled for Napier and we kept him, and that was kind of it. Well, last week, Kiffin started up again. He tweeted, "Spot the ball," on a picture of himself and his son Knox on the bus on the way to a game. That is absolutely to get Florida fans' attention. So I do actually think that he's more movable than people think. As well as I know that Urban is not an option. Urban does not want to do this. Urban has that ship has sailed for him. I feel like he said that several times to you. He said it to me. He said it and I can understand why people want Urban. I just don't think Urban wants this. I think he's got a great life. And, I would be open to Drinkwitz. I think Marcus Freeman, you give a call, make him say no to you. There's quite a few people. And unless something crazy happens, like the bottom falls out at Alabama the second half of this season, Florida should be the best job on the market next year.
Say hello to Rob Brown. Say hello to Allie. Rob, an SEC sideline star. And I've asked him to come on because he thinks more globally than we do. And he's an Auburn guy, too, by the way. Yes. Everybody's schedule changed. Allie, your reaction to this, say, what? No Tennessee game? No LSU game? What do you think, Allie?
I mean, I would love to play Tennessee and LSU every single year. I can understand why schedule makers aren't putting Georgia, LSU, and Tennessee as Florida's 3. That automatically makes it. And you think about the fact that they always get Florida State too, because that's our in-state rival. It is mandated by the state of Florida that they play. I can understand.
It's really not, by the way. That's a myth.
Is it really not?
No,
that's hilarious. I have always heard that it was. But
the governor encouraged him to do it. It was never mandated. Anyway.
Well, that rivalry is going to continue on, whether or not the government tells us to.
I agree with you.
So that already makes Florida's schedule a tick harder than pretty much everybody else's. But I'm a little disappointed. And it makes me sad that after this year, we won't see Tennessee in the swamp till 2029. I am excited to see some rivalries that we haven't gotten to see for a long time. I'm excited to go to the Plains. I'm excited for, Alabama to make an appearance in the swamp and us to go to Tuscaloosa. I'm excited for things that have not happened regularly enough. But I don't love our permanent opponents.
Let's get Rob. Rob, give us your take on that. You talked to it. I mean, Auburn's got its own schedule. I see Oklahoma's, Ole Miss's permanent opponent for 4 years. Yeah. It's Oklahoma. That doesn't fit. But what do you think? You've been talking about it for a while.
Well, I heard Audrey and I were watching, my wife and I, with Chris Doering and Allie and all in there. Allie's right. I've said this to you. You or friends should have introduced, if you would have introduced Billy to the Florida fan base, and I've grown up watching Florida. That was a annual rivalry. It got so intense when I was in college, they had to have a better relations day. Charlie Pell was mad about the 14-12 game his first year, actually his third year in 81. But I'm with Allie. They dropped the ball. They don't have your support. Mm-hmm. And you know what? When you're in a situation like you're in now and you don't have Buddy Martin or Franz on your side, that's kind of like, if you didn't have Al Van Hoos or, Benny Marshall on your side if you were at Auburn or Alabama. Allie's right. She got very good intuition. And my take on like Lane Kiffin, I'm in Memphis and I'm very close to a lot of friends. Ole Miss doesn't have a handful of donors. They've got a massive collective, like the Grove Collective. Mm-hmm. And when Kiffin was flirting and playing footsie with Auburn, that thing grew to over 11,000 people. Now, I've got a friend of mine that runs a trading desk, a mortgage desk for a major Wall Street firm. And you think he's giving a lot. He goes, I give him $23 a month. But it's a lot of people doing it. But the Florida job, it's a great job. But you know what I see with Billy Napier? I think he's going to get half as long as Gus did. Gus used to talk about, I'm going to go get an offensive coordinator. I'm going to turn over the reins. Well, he had Rhett Lashley, and he threw him under the bus. He had Chip Lindsey. He had a lot of guys he said he would. He's a control freak. And Billy Napier, no one's going to say he's not a good guy, but Florida deserves better. I completely missed on the Gators this year. I thought y'all would win 10 games. I connected the dots, kind of like charting a stock. I saw a breakout. But I'm seeing just, I don't know what's going to happen now. But to get dominated like that against Miami, I'd go for Kiffin. I'd go for Rhett Lashley. I'd go for some stud. I'd look at John Summerall at Tulane. You wish Urban Meyer. My wife has said Tennessee should give as much money as he wants to get him if they ever get another. Every time there's an opening, she wants Urban. Y'all, the Florida job is you're a gravy train with biscuit wheels. If you can't win at Florida, you are functionally, I'm not going to say the decorum prohibits me saying you're not smart. How can you not win at Florida? You have the best high school talent, I think. Mm-hmm. And we talked to Antonio Cromartie today on the Die Hard podcast that we do on this channel, who played at Florida State. And I asked him to compare high school football in Florida and Texas. He reeled off 2 high school stadiums within 10 minutes of where he lives that are between $90 and $100 million that seat 15 and 20,000. He said in Florida, we're still playing on dirt and gravel tracks and stuff. But I'll put those kids that come out of Florida up against anybody. Look at Mouse Holloway. You've got 23 million people in the state of Florida. You got over 500,000 living alumni. How can I'm with y'all, but Billy Napier never gave you the sit down interview. Every president of the United States, Billy Graham, came and met with them. Buddy Martin, and I'm not saying that to curry favor. Billy Graham, please. I'm not trying to say it, but I'm with Allie. I'm with Allie. If you would have introduced him, I think he'd be getting more time right now. That's all I'm saying. But I don't know if you don't ever say never about a coach leaving. I know Kiffin's got his family and they're all there in Oxford and all, but see, he's never officially been offered the Florida job. I wouldn't as you say, buddy, anything is on the table. And if I'm offered the Florida job, I'm going to take a look.
All right. So we're going to do this. We only got about 3 or 4 minutes. We didn't get to the subject of the permanent opponents. Allie, here's the thing I think is important. The reason people are not more upset about it is they play everybody over 2 years.
Yeah.
If you don't play them this year, you play them next year, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I love that we're going to see everybody. I think it's exciting. We're going to see Oklahoma. I've never been to Norman. They've obviously never seen the Swamp. I hate that we have seen Auburn as few times as we have over the past, 30 years. So there are absolute positives for sure, but I don't think they did any justice to Florida's long-standing rivalries. I think about these Tennessee-Florida games in the 90s. I mean, the East came out of the 2 of those schools for 2 straight decades. And that bothers me. And, those LSU, Florida, the fact that we're going to see Alabama LSU every week, every season is crazy to me. I think from a national interest standpoint, how many times did the national championship run through that game? Sometimes the national championship was that game. So, but I would not have wanted to be the person in charge of this, because it's definitely an undertaking, and there were going to be people that were upset one way or the other. But I do love that we will see everybody. I don't love the concept of the every 4 years, only because, so does that mean Florida, Georgia won't happen in 4 years when they rotate? Is there
I think they'll play. There's certain protected games.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope, but I also would have thought Alabama LSU was one of those.
Well, not really, but I mean, Alabama Auburn is, about it.
Florida, Georgia is untouchable. You cannot touch touch that game.
And Tennessee, Alabama used to be that way.
That was October.
Yeah. So like they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, you're messing around with the Sistine Chapel here. And I know you know that, Rob, pretty well. When you take the SEC and you break it up and say, I got a new plan for you. Is that a little risky? We each got about 30 seconds. Rob, you go.
Yeah, it is. It is risky. But as long as what makes the conference special is the frequency of play and the fan bases knowing each other. I mean, my God, the head trader on the floor, Adam Tooley at Duncan Williams all those years, is a Florida Gator. 18 different schools represented. That's what makes a conference. We got 16 here.
Allie?
I mean, I don't know.
What worries you, Allie? What worries you about all this?
I think all of the changes for college football, not just this, not just the schedule, just a lot of the things that have happened over the past, let's call it 5 years, concern me. I think kids are mercenaries by and large for these programs. I think that coaching contracts are absurd. That's part of why we're in the situation we're in with Coach Napier. I think we're ruining some of what's great about college football. I think about last season, the two biggest upsets of the entire college football season didn't end up mattering because the two teams that lost those two giant upsets played for a national title. So, I don't like to be one of those people that hates change, but I do hate change. And I think that especially when change is solely money driven, this is not what's best for the game of college football. This is what's best for a lot of pockets.
Speaking of money, this final thought, and we each got 15 seconds to comment on it. Urban Meyer told me last week, he says, I've had one or two athletic directors or associate athletes say the money is dried up. You don't have the big money anymore for the buyouts or the youth facilities. Is the game going to change that much, Allie?
So I think we're in a different world. We used to ask donors for buyouts and for facilities, but now we also ask them for NIL. And it's not asking them for NIL every 5 or 10 years when you need something new. It's asking them every semester with your handout, but you're still asking them for those facility upgrades, those stadium renovations, and those coaching buyouts. So, and there's very little ROI on any of it for them. So the game has changed, and we're expecting relatively the same number of donors to fund so much more. It's not sustainable.
Yeah, Rob, you got 15 seconds, buddy.
Totally agree with Allie. Mac Brown was on the show with us last Friday. He said coaches are making more money than they ever have. They're miserable. Coaching contracts are going to go down because you got to have more money to buy players. And you keep beating your fans over the head, and they don't see an ROI. They ain't going to give you anything. They're going to walk away and hit the portal themselves.
Great stuff, Rob. Thank you, Allie. You were great tonight. It was fun having Chris Doering on as well. Catch up with you guys soon.
Thank you.
We're going to call it a night and thank our sponsors once again. Don't forget Melton Law. No back down. Now Titan MRI. Somebody need to know about. They're one of our fine sponsors. They're now we have 3 locations. About to have 4. 2 in Gainesville with Park Avenue location at Millennium Center, and 1 in Lake City, all of Columbia County, and Valdosta, Georgia. Titan MRI soon moving to Ocala. They'll give them another place in North Florida. Why do people like it so much? Same great customer service. They accept insurance, or you can go to their convenient self-pay program. Also, they offer MRIs, CAT scans, X-rays, ultrasounds, easy scheduling with lots of options, including evenings. If you can't get to the daytime, they'll make their appointment for you then. A large MRI machines for your patient comfort. No yards, no hospitals. Coming soon to Ocala, as I said, to serve Marion County. Titan MRI. It's your choice. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Chris Doering and to Allie Peak and to Rob. We'll see Rob again later this week on our show here and up in the Panhandle. So I'll say thank you, and we'll play our music and say good night. Thank you for helping us get through the night, as you always do. And you folks out there are great. And our show just had its 1 millionth viewer. It was quite a milestone for us. We're happy. That's because of you. Have a great night, folks.